Hey guys, welcome to the Richest Real Estate Agent Podcast, where there's way better metrics in life to measuring rich than just GCI. We're going to talk to the top influencers in real estate and top influencers in the mindset space. We're going to break down the emotional intelligence needed to be successful as an agent and stay there for 20 years. Welcome to the show. Let's get at it. So today we've got Ron Dickson on the podcast, and we've known each other for a long time. I just want to get right into it. Ron, thank you so much for jumping on with me. Super excited. We love riffing, and I'm excited to be able to put this on camera and make this an audio recording. Welcome, man.
Thanks, Ben. Thanks, buddy. How's it going?
It's going good. It's going good. It's going good. I want to talk about something though. I want to say what you have some serious numbers behind you, and we're going to get into some real raw truth of life and the backstage pass of Ron. But I just want to first set up the stage so people understand that, you know, what you're at. You know, the Sotherbys, you're like 6,500 homes sold. Give me the credibility piece in a way. You know, let me take you out and brag for a second here. You're the real deal, man.
Sure. I mean, I think it might even be more than 6,500 homes, but of course I can't take all the credit. You know, I've been a team leader for, I don't know, like 20 years now. And I've seen what a great amount of success I've seen in 20 years of real estate, 20 plus years of real estate. But you know, you and I, we've had these conversations so often. Like the awards they're great, but I mean, listen, I went from being at Remax for 20 years and then I left Remax. What am I going to do with all that hardware? Right. And who really cares about it? Right. You know?
Yeah.
And that's where, to be honest with you, Ben, it's funny, right? Like, it's like, that's where I realized, you know, all of this stuff that was badged with that company and all the accolades that went with it. What do I do with it now? And it was like, that was the paradigm shift of the aha that, like, wait a minute, like, I'm going to literally throw all this stuff in the garbage. And to be honest, it was kind of a relief. You know what I mean?
Interesting. Yeah. Like a weight.
Yeah.
It almost sounds like, you know, like if you actually, if those awards had value to you, you wouldn't throw them away. It just, when you leave, it's like, oh, these things that we thought were so valuable might not have been as valuable. Is that what you mean?
Yeah. Like, you know, the pin they give you, like, those aren't even real diamonds. So there's really literally no value.
I totally get it, man. I always think if Remax would put more money into, like, if you're the top person, we'll send you to Disneyland. You know, create an experience. That the awards needs to be full. Like, but you know what though, Ron, those are built from, you and I understand sales really well. And if you're in a boiler room, that's how you run a boiler room sales machine. You say, ring the bell, you know, let's do this, go after the big thing, give them awards, something to brag about. Let's go. And it's old school salesmen focus, boiler room selling. And you always have these awards, and that's where maybe the start of real estate, that never changed, because brokers are trying to motivate agents, and maybe that's one of the main tools they still use. But like you said, though, it's a pretty low value when, you know, at the end, you know.
Well, I mean, I should, the caveat to all of it is that in anybody new getting into real estate, I mean, I turned 50 this year. So I've been in real estate basically my entire adult life. You know, that I can't, you know, just say the awards meant nothing. They meant everything. And it was the pursuit of it that I'm grateful for. Like, if it wasn't for that type of, you know, that the chase, maybe I wouldn't be here where I am, where I feel as though I've in my own mind, looking back, that I've had this success, right? I mean, because, you know, I've been through a divorce. You know, I'm not going to get too deep into that, but what I realized, and you hear it, but then sometimes you have to live it, which is, you can take away the money, but you can't take away the person you had to become to earn the money. So, you know, they always say, like, a true good agent, and you're living this right now. you can move to any market area, and within a year, you should be able to see the same success that you had in the market area you came from. And you see it with certain agents that have that success mindset. And I think it does start with some awards. So I mean, I do think it's important, but
Yeah,
it,
to
it
recognize accomplishments, but understand like that the award is a motivator for you. You know, it's almost like having self-awareness of what it is. You
yeah,
know, it's not the ultimate prize, it's a motivator, and it's
yeah,
exciting to celebrate. But like a hot tub, right? Like a hot tub, you jump in, feels freaking awesome to grab that sucker off the stage, and then January 1st hits, and then all of a sudden you're out of the hot tub back to start again. So there it has that moment of celebration, and I think it's true. Like we shouldn't, destroy the zero value, but it's almost like know where they know the place it what part does it play. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah. That's the important part. Is like it is important, but I guess the takeaway is, if you're new in the business, yeah, chase that award. It means a lot. Go get it,
Yeah,
and high five yourself and your colleagues around you when you get those awards, but don't attach too much to it, because when you get to be 50 like me, you realize, well, the chase of it was the chase was more fun, like the pursuit of it, than actually receiving it. Because once you've received
get
it,
it.
it's like, what's next, right? And
And
then you've
that's
trained yourself
that's
that it has
that's
to be another award, but there can only be so many.
yeah, that's a really good point. I run into guys all the time, that I end up working with, and they've won the awards, and then at the end of the day, they're like, "Yeah, I didn't. I thought it would give me more." And
Yeah.
so what that means is along the journey, there might be some missing things to take care of.
So yeah,
Like
so
the
this will speak to you, Ben. So it was like, what if you were the number one agent at your office because you spent more time with your children than you did in the office? What if that was an award and you still achieved your goals, right? That would
well, you
speak. That's what you train.
which is literally possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I always think and that'd be a tough one to build a business around, a family award. But the thing is, what wouldn't be tough is a referral number award. If you could celebrate an award on the percentage of referrals that you get.
Hmm.
So what happens is it's a way different. It's you like even from a very like yeah, mental health and family and all of that stuff, but even from a practical business stance, not one brokerage. They should put the referral award on the highest level and have a massive prize to that. Because then your service, the quality of care, the long game, understanding that you don't miss those follow-up calls. And because then you focus everything on the referral. And then what happens is eventually you're not the hustler and losing your freaking wife.
That's
Like,
right. That's
and if
right.
we started, we could actually do the mindset of referral first. Imagine I would go after that. That's the one award. And then you make it a $10,000 prize or something crazy where you just elevate that prize to be the most prestigious part. Imagine your brokerage health over the next few, 3, 4 years as a brokerage. Celebrate how many referrals you got.
Or how many Google reviews you had? Like, how many 5-star Google reviews do you have? Can you imagine? It's like, okay, let's see who's number one. Okay, everybody pull out their
Yeah, yeah,
Google.
yeah.
I'd lose because I don't
Yeah,
ask for them, but
yeah.
that should be the
That's why.
measurement. You
Well,
know.
there isn't measurements on quality of business, longevity of clients. So our metrics are on, love it. We're talking about this. The metrics of just doing gross income awards. So maybe it's not the award. It's just maybe the wrong, like the awards are based on a metric that not one businessman in the planet would ever use, but every single real estate agent does. So there's the issue, right? Because if you go into the Dragon's Den and you're like, yep, I want you to invest in my company. I made $1 million. They'd be like, oh, wow, that's impressive. I said, how much it cost you to get the million? And if you said, oh, 900,000, they would literally laugh you out of the room and be like, you're an idiot. I wouldn't touch you with a 10-foot pole. But in real estate, if you spend 900 and you make a million, you're a god and you get elevated on every level because the brokerages need top agents to recruit other agents. So it's a real tricky game, right? It's a real
Yeah.
tricky game.
Yeah. It really is. It's like, you know, you have to spend money to make money, but and it's important, but
Yeah.
you have to allocate a certain amount of your gross revenue, and then that's it. So if you want to spend more money, like if you see Well, first of all, it's important to say that the trend is led by followers, and you're going to learn the hard way. So if you do what everybody else is doing, you're going to get what everybody else is getting. But we're talking about the 98% that's not happy. If you want to get
Yeah,
into that 2%, it's doing the exact opposite of what you see and not saying, because I mean, if you go to a training event and you're like, this all sounds great, I'm going to do it all. Well, then you can't possibly succeed at any of it because all of it became important. And it's the same thing with spending money. If you want to be a geographical farmer and that's all you want to do, and you put your heart and your soul into that, you'll be the best at that. But if you want to be a geographical farmer and you want to be a project marketer and you want to be, and you want to be highly referred and you want to get business from Instagram and you want to be highly referred on Facebook. I mean, all of a sudden you have like these, you can't do it. Pick
dude,
one and be the best
dude,
at
it's
that.
such a so when I say the richest real estate agent, and that's the name of the podcast, this is exactly what a richest real estate agent would talk about. Because those are wise business experiences. Because I guarantee you, year 2 or 3, you weren't talking like this. It's that you
Yeah.
paid some kind of price to get what you just told me. See, this is what I think about. And you and I share that. I've paid some prices too to get some wisdom. There's some that
Yeah.
definite scars on the way. And what's interesting is I want everyone to listen because as they're listening to this podcast, Ron, what you just said, people might be like, "Oh yeah, that's really cool wisdom." I want everyone just to stop and have to understand 20, 30 years of life in this grind to get to this one polished thought. Do you know what the cost that Ron has paid to get to the place where, like, I should focus on one area? I should focus on this. I shouldn't be distracted by 75 different things. And it was such I want to always stop when we hear this moment where, like, we can brush by it real quick. Like, oh, yeah, that's great advice, Ron. I'm like, do you know what Ron paid to understand that? Because I guarantee you that that was not the first year's advice. I just wanted to make sure that everyone listening knows the cost of getting that wisdom, that understand the value of what Ron just said. Because it's not just an idea he popped into his head. This guy's got some scars to have that level of authority to speak about business. And I just want to make sure everyone knows that, Ron.
Yeah, it's the greatest success is paved with stones of failure, and it's um it's how many times you is it going to take to learn this lesson. And so there's quick learners and there's slow learners, right? And when I speak to you know other team leaders, I say, like, you at some point you can't control everything, and you're going to have to put yourself in a position where you don't cross contaminate, right? And so, but when I say the trend is led by followers, that is why the 2% that succeed really, really well and that live a happy life, they're not following those trends. They're actually creating trends. And they're creating trends by finding one thing that they know they're good at. And then they're just focused on that because
You know what
I
that
talk
is, though, Ron? Like, I just think, sorry to interrupt you. I just think that
no, no.
I hear people hearing this, and it's like, yeah, I want to not follow. Okay. So the thing is, do you know why I think they fall don't but why they continue to follow a trend? Because I don't think we spend time to go, what the fuck do you want? Like, I think at the end of the day, we are told by our parents when we're young, our teachers, our college professors, then our mentors, then the next agent that's a $2 million agent telling you what to do, then your broker, then your religion, then your in-laws, and then your wife, or then your spouse, or like everyone's telling you what to do. And if we can't, that's why there's trending. The 2% have to have an independent mind. You got to be like, okay, what do I want? And the reason why I don't think we go after what we want is because we're scared of rejection and all the emotional intelligence stuff that is totally not even talked about. Because it's like, I don't want to cause trouble. Oh, I just want to please people. Like all of this, if you really want to get to where you want to go, you're going to have conflict. You're going to have to not people please. You're going to have to make someone disappoint someone. You're going to have a fight with someone. And I think there's this emotional part of the journey we don't even talk about, But so many people become followers because they don't know what they want. And then if they do know what they want, do they have the courage to stand alone?
It's funny, Ben, and that's it right there. Um, that's the secret sauce. The old school is the new school. In fact, the old school didn't go anywhere, but the
Love that.
trend was led by followers. So it's like online leads and pay per click and SEO and all this stuff. And it's like, oh, I got to have followers. I got to on Instagram and Facebook and like
Pressure to buy.
look at my Instagram, look at my Facebook. And that's not just listen, I know people that do it very well, but I don't do that very well. What I do very well is the old school practices. Like look at some of the top agents in your market area. Like I'm talking the top agents. Look at their website and look at their social media. You want to know what they never stopped doing? They never stopped building and fostering and strengthening relationships. That's what they did because they couldn't grasp it. Sure, they'll hire somebody to do their social media, but they're like, well, I'm just doing it because it's on trend, but it's not
So
what people
empty.
my money.
Ron, when I deal with real estate agents, it's one of the highest stresses out there. And they're like, I just, man, my social media. And that's why I won't name that. There's a real estate training program that's charging like $7,000 and they're training on social media. And I'm picking up more of these clients in the last few months than I've ever seen. And these are people that paid for high ticket social media training. And the problem is that that's not what they need. And so they're coming and going, well, I've got all these systems, but first of all, they're not doing it. And second of all, they don't want to do it. And all it is creating pressure. Social media conversation is awesome. Glad you brought it up. There's so many agents out there that are so successful with no social media presence because you're
Yeah.
right. It's a relationship game. See, the social media might give you an opportunity to build a relationship, but if you don't know how to build a relationship after you got the attention of someone and they lean into you like, oh, hey, Ron, how you doing? Well, after that part is when the success happens, not getting
Yeah.
it. And they just go, it's like a guy going to the bar. They never take the time, like a sleazeball going to the bar. Hey, baby. And he gets really good at the first pickup line. They got
Yeah.
your attention. And then, but the real heart of it is 10, 15, 20 dates with one person. And then now you got something. I think we forget that old school part. Love that you brought it
because
up.
because people are trying to be something that they're not. So
Love
I
it.
don't
Let's
wear a
go.
suit. I don't wear a suit. I do two-stop listing appointments. I don't take evaluations. I have conversations. It's something that a lot of people can't do, but what I'm doing best is myself, right? And so, you know, if you're really good at social media and you're like Gen Z or, like, sure, then great. Then and that's perfect. You're gonna make money if that's all you
But
focus
that's
on.
but that's them being themselves. They're
That's
naturals
right.
at it. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. So, but the old school, like the geographical farming, the unaddressed mail drops, the guerrilla marketing, that didn't go anywhere. It wasn't on trend anymore, and people thought, well, it's what online is on trend. Well, but look what we did to ourselves. We made it almost it's almost nicer to view a home virtually than it is personally. With all this high K photography and videography, you don't even have to go there anymore, which is great. Um, but all of this on trend stuff is taking us from these relationships, and it's pulling these relationships apart where it's like you don't even you don't meet the client almost until the very end when you're giving them the keys.
Ron, we're so alike. Why? They're not building a referral based business.
Yeah.
They're not. That's not how you do referrals. Like the worst person is when you deal with a client, they call you, they want to see a house, you go see the house and they write on the first day. My worst, I hate that. They had no chance to connect with them. That process is like, yeah, you made 10, 15 grand real quick, but you literally lost 20 years of potential referrals because it's so fast. You got to work real hard on those ones. People think those are nice, easy money makers. And I'm like, and those are the worst. Because how do they connect? Do we know about their kids' volleyball games? Do you know about how their dad died? Do you know about what kind of freaking coffee they drink? Do you know anything about your freaking clients? Ron, now I'm going to get upset. Like I get crazy because I asked so many people come to me and be like, hey, Ben, I've got this client. What should I give them as a gift? I've got a closing. I rip those guys apart. I go, okay, you've messed up. It's a big, big, big F, okay? And I'm not trying to hurt anyone's feeling, but big fat F. I said, the day you meet them, you ask that question. You don't even know what you're going to get them. Like if you know me, Ron, I'm an Oilers fan. You could probably know I love my wife, my kids. I'm a family guy. I love Vancouver. Like Like, what do you, if you wanted to say thank you in a meaningful way, well, you start with that. And that just shows that we don't know how to do relationship, Ron. You got, I kind of, I don't mean to take over here. I just don't rant for a
No,
second here.
I love it.
Get, I
I
get,
love it.
I get
Because
excited,
I
man.
can. Do you want me to pour some more gas on your fire?
I
Let's
want it.
get you real uncomfortable in your
No,
chair.
yeah, I got
So, so I show. I don't put lock boxes on my luxury real estate, right? Too many times, the realtor's
Mm,
like, "Well, why do you have to be there?" Well, there's four different types of exotic wood in the house. If you can go online and tell me what types they are, then you can have the keys and go on your own. But
yeah,
that's but I spent 5 hours, you know, writing comments, and I spent 3 days getting to know the home. I'm your strategic alliance. I'm not your opposing force. So I get there. I'm like, I have to be there. That's what my clients are paying me to do. I get there. The realtor will show up and he'll be like, "Hey, Ron, can I'll just be 1 minute." And they walk to the car and they're like, "Hey, I'm so and so. Nice to meet you." There's an online lead. They've never met. And I'm like, I hope you don't have a family, because unless you've pre-qualified them, they're probably just dealing with other people that are digging for online leads. And for me, it's like, that's okay if that's your business model. It's great. But if you're not pre-qualifying them and you're shaking hands, like, and you didn't do like a like a buyer consultation or anything like that. And I
yeah.
guess, I get it, it's COVID. And so there's things are different, and it's a different world, but don't let that be the excuse to take the relationships and make it so virtual that you forget about,
Think, Ron, at it. Think about this, okay? Let's say, look at basic. This is what I get. Now we're gonna drill real deep because this isn't even real estate problem. Not a real estate problem, Ron. It's a human to human interaction problem with society, with ourselves. Because how about this? Me and you got an issue, right? You think we talk about it? Most likely, typical people be like, "Oh, hey, Ron, how you doing?" No, no, we're all good. We're all good. Yeah, 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 yeah. Like we don't understand that. Like, hey, Ron, hey, like we can't get honest with each other. We don't take that relationship to the next level. You know how many people I've coached that are about to get married, and I said, hey, what kind of conversations have you had with your future wife? And it just floors me. Oh no, we hang out. We go for wine tastings. We go for dinners. We go for a party with friends. I'm like, did you ask her about this? Like basic. Oh, I haven't even talked about that yet. And it's I don't know if we've lost it or if we're just too scared to actually have a real conversation. It's one of those things that, like, if we could level up on the relationship abilities, like skill up. Like, imagine a brokerage that says, "Okay, guys, here's sales training and here's a life coach." Like, imagine instead of filling up a brokerage with a mortgage broker, a lawyer, you literally have a life coach, and anyone that comes to your brokerage, you got to have an hour with that life coach every month. Like, uh, or a marriage coach or a relationship coach in your brokerage. How about that? That kind of makes sense in a relationship business because no one really knows how to do relationship. Like, that's the
Mhm.
thing, right? We deal with each other. It's not like a relationship. I think that's more of a conversation than just like, the clients. Because if you're good at relationship, you'll be great at this business.
Well, that's the real that's the real issue in just in society in general, is that
Yeah.
everybody can they can like, you got all these friends on social media or Facebook, or followers on Instagram, and almost your conversations are text. It's not even picking up the phone. And then when you finally do get somebody live, what what are you gonna do? You don't.
You do.
I mean, I don't hardly compete for business, but when I do, um, I say, who am I competing with? I want to know, because I usually know everybody. You know,
Exactly.
oh, we're
Yeah.
interviewing Ben. Perfect. Ben's a great guy. That's great. I mean, I would rather compete against and really compete against people that share the same beliefs and and core values, right? But I always say, like, and it doesn't happen often, but when it does, I say, like, so you're going to interview four people, and I know how good I am at building relationships. So out of four people, three people aren't going to get the job. They're going to be really unhappy. Why don't you just start with one person, interview that person, and if that makes sense, go with that person. If it doesn't, go
Yeah.
down the line, but don't interview a whole bunch of people, and then you're kind of ruining relationships, because everybody's going to be, they're going to have hurt feelings over it, you know?
Tricky, tricky business that way for sure.
In other words,
So
like treat people the way you'd want to be treated both ways, right?
yeah,
So if I hear somebody call me and say, "Yo, I'm interviewing 4 people," I'm like, I think you should interview. It's important, but that many, I don't know.
yeah.
I think,
There, the psychology of that, though, Ron, is this: they're trying to use a practical, logical interview process to solve an emotional issue, which is never going to be solved. If you're interviewing three, four, five, six agents, you have a anxiety issue, not a decision about an agent issue. You have a fear of making the wrong choice. You have a fear that you don't trust yourself. There's a way deeper behavioral, emotional intelligence insight to that seller who's interviewing a 15 people. It's not about the agents anymore. It's the person she's trying to solve for anxiety, which is an emotional thing, not a practical choosing a real estate thing. She's using the wrong tool. And then that's why it doesn't work.
I agree. And where I was going with all of it was that the the one person, like if you found me, you probably found me by referral or somebody who knows me, or maybe you've seen me, right? But the other three you might have found not in that regard, perhaps maybe through social media or online. My point to all of this is that when I finish my interview, then they're like, well, gee, like, well, now what do I do? Because we just want to go with you.
Yeah.
And, it's like, now you got to make 3 calls because you don't even want the interview now. And I guess the point is that the reason why is because I took the time on the initial call. I took the time on 2 stop listing appointment. I know how to build and foster and strengthen a relationship long term for, uh, for the future. And then so if I go in first, I'm usually, you know. So I guess that my point is like building a relationship starts right out of the gate, right? Right when that, and it doesn't matter if you're selling real estate.
And if they know how to do that, that's the
That,
interesting thing. And where's the training on that? You know what I mean? Like, where's the actual training on, like, in this, millions and millions of real estate agents are being trained on how to close 7 objections on a lead gen call, but do you understand how to build an emotional connection with a human being?
yeah,
Like where's that training? Like, where's that? It's in some freaking self-help book, I guess. Yeah, it is. Like, we don't grow ourselves. I always like to say the industry's amazing at building race cars, which would represent the skill and the business. This industry is shit at making race car drivers. But
yep,
you're a race car driver. You know why? Is like you said, any location, any brand, anything, you're going to know how to drive it. You don't need most of the time we're figuring out, oh, maybe this social media would be like better tires or a better engine. But if you don't know how to drive a car, you don't have to run a business, you don't know how to build relationships, you have a really, really fancy business. And it's just not going to be able to be used. This is a
yeah.
human problem. This is where the industry is pretty shitty. They don't grow the agent, they grow salesmen, you know.
And yet it's like it's so funny because yet it's like I always when people ask me, when people want to talk to me about getting in the business, I'm like, I'm the wrong guy to talk to because I'll talk you into it right now because I love it so much.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I have no plans to ever retire. I have a business partner. He's our team leader. I don't touch that part. We don't cross contaminate because it's not
What a
what
great
I like to do.
partner. Jeremy's awesome. So
Yeah,
good like that. He's that
yeah,
analytical mind. It's so great.
yeah. So Jeremy, that's what he's good at: leadership, guidance, mentorship. Those are the things he loves to do. And for me, I actually love the art of selling real estate. So
Mhm.
therefore, I'm never going to take myself out of it. And the part that I love that goes along with it is relationships, geographical farming. I love that part too. I love all the old school stuff that never went away. It's just that it wasn't on trend and people decided, and I don't know if I'm like reiterating the same thing over and over again, but I just don't think I can because it's that important.
So Ron, a couple of things here. So you've been in the business a long time. You're one of the most successful agents in the area. You own Sotheby's for the whole area. You deal with the most expensive properties in the entire area. Um, Tell me just real quick, what's the most expensive house? And this is Edmonton, Alberta. Okay, this isn't Vancouver, Toronto. What's the most expensive house you've listed and sold?
Okay, so the most expensive house had a $5 million price tag, obviously because of privacy. You can't say what it is or where.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
this is
Yeah.
not intended to solicit or you.
Yeah. Exactly.
So
Yeah.
$5
Yeah.
million
Yeah.
dollars for a 2-story, and we smashed another record last year, which was we sold a bungalow, and it was the highest sale for a bungalow ever. Can't say what it was
In
sold for,
yeah.
but it was listed at 4.3 million.
How many listings do you have right now, Ron? And this is January, recorded in January.
I don't know. That
Give me a
I
guess.
should know that. Like I don't know, 80, 90.
80 listings, 90 listings. What do you average at? What's your high point for listings?
Listings carried. Well,
Yeah.
what's funny? Like pre-COVID, it would be 150, 60, 175.
Yeah.
Is what we would carry. But we're at a lack of inventory. Like
Massive. That's huge.
I just came from our team meeting. We're gonna go door knocking.
Love it. Love it, Ron. I
Because
used to take my entire team out like that too.
and it doesn't have to be weird. It's like, hey,
It
listen,
isn't
I
weird.
don't I don't want to knock on your door and you don't want to answer it, but I've got a buyer and your house was selected. I just need to know, do you want to sell in the
So
near future?
easy.
If not, it's cool. Here's some information. I don't want to buy like it.
You know
Keep
what
it.
it is? It's the opposite. It's opposite of a hostess.
Yeah.
Watch this. Hello, welcome. I'm at your door. If I can do anything for you, just come on down. And you're just like, if you just go, I used to just walk up and be like, hey, look, I get it. I'm interrupting you. I have a buyer. This is the thing. I don't know if you're looking to buy or sell. I've got actual buyers. Do you know anyone in the entire area that's buying or selling? I'm desperate to find a home for my buyer. Thank you so much. Here's my card. Like
Yeah.
you can literally just go, and it's just know what it is. It's just that you're comfortable in your own skin, Ron, is really the psychology of it. You just walk in and be like, if you judge me, I don't care. That's a comforting in your own skin. If you're scared of judging, you'll try a little extra too hard,
It's you're right. It's so funny. It's like our buyers from Toronto. I'm like, we're gonna take it one step further. Ding dong. Listen, I'm not trying to bug you right now, but my buyer's in the car. You want to sell? I
Yeah,
gotta get
that's
I gotta
there's
get as much
Ron
notes
Dickson.
as
There's the
possible. Is it no? Okay,
yeah,
we're going
yeah.
next door. Do you know
Love it.
anybody? I'll bird
Yeah,
dog
yeah.
you. You do?
You got it.
Where do they live? His name's Frank. Call him right now. Like, who cares?
It's the who cares part is where I'm obsessed because I'm like, how do we get someone not to care is my obsession as I work with agents and different people. It's like, how do I get that person to truly not care what that person's going to think of them?
Yeah.
Because then
And
they'll
you want
level
to
up
mess
for
them up
me.
real good? Leave a postcard on their door saying that you're gonna knock on their door tomorrow at 6. They're like, oh no, you won't. I'll be there waiting for you. But then by the time you get there, they're like, it's a nice tee it
I
up,
love
have
it.
fun with it. But be
It is
quick.
fun.
Not like, hello,
Yeah,
my name is
man.
Ron. I've been selling real estate for 25 years.
Gross.
Here's a
Gross.
list of my awards. How are you doing today? What if
Yeah.
I told you that I have a buyer?
Oh,
Is that something you might be interested in?
gross.
They're a
It's all
family
the
of
old
4, and
sales.
it's like, like just get out of there, right? Just knock on the door, get to the point, get on.
You know what?
That's how you
People
make money.
respect direct, man. They respect, hey, look, boom. Love it. That's a great point. Love that so much. Hey guys, Ben here, real quick. realestaterebootcamp.com. This is where we're helping real estate agents who are busy, who are maybe getting a little disconnected from their family and the life that they wanted to live before they got their license. They need systems and they need to get their business to serve them versus getting trapped in their business. They need systems, they need help. Jump on a call with me, realestaterebootcamp.com. Cheers. Back to the show. So now a lot of listeners that are in my world and will follow this podcast are interested in the inner work, the inner growth. And I know you're into that. We both share the love of Wayne Dyer and the almost a spiritual quest in life, not just the practical. But if you could just be as real as you can, think about maybe an area, like if we're thinking when you speak about this, think about the person that needs to hear this. That is exactly like Ron when he was in a stuck place, a limiting mindset. Describe a limiting mindset or a negative side of Ron that had to get out of his way. And then tell me what happened with your life when that got figured out.
So the limiting mindset that got me stuck and in my own way was that I had to be in control of everything. Right. So when I had a large team, I'm like, I have to go on the listing appointments. I have to control absolutely everything because I just don't want to, I can't miss. I don't want to. And I believe that there was nobody better than me for the job than me in every single job, to the point where I was micromanaging everything and I hated my life. So then it got to me to a point where, and Ben, we used to have breakfast meetings and coffees where I was then all of a sudden, I didn't work for 5 years, no buyers, no sellers. But then I tried to get back into the game and I'm like, how do I do this again? I forgot. And I was like, I never want to take myself out of the game ever again. I just want to focus on my position. If I want to play center, I'm playing center. I'll back check, but I play center. That's my position. And I'm doing quick shifts. I'm not gonna hang out, like, if you know hockey, I'm not gonna take a 4 minute shift. I'm on and off because I want to be fresh every time I'm on, which means I can balance better with my family, with my life, and my business. So
That-
the
uh,
spiritual side, I meditate, I pray, so I steam every day. It's funny, I go to the steam room at the club and at the Derrick. I've been a member there over 20 years, and I when I go into that same steam room, and it's the same one, and it's the same prayers that are laid down in that steam room, and they always get answered. It's the one thing that has never changed in my life is where I pray and in that steam room, and where everything gets answered, and meditate. And guys don't bother me. They know what I'm doing. They don't care. They're not freaked out by it. Hey, I don't. I pray. That's what I do. You know,
yeah, it's
and I'm
beautiful.
grateful.
Love that. I love that, man. I think we, even myself, like even getting into, you get confident, you get rocking, you got a good mindset, and sometimes there's a deeper connection that's available. You know what I mean? There's a deeper connection that's available in that prayer, in that connection spiritually. I think it's an interesting topic. I think is not discussed as well. If it is discussed, it's real woo woo. It's real out there, but just even the practical basics, it's so good.
Well, people are afraid of it. So if you're not on the God Squad, then call the universe, right? So the
Exactly.
universe is like your genie, and the wishes that you have is the universe's command. And so, I mean, if you want something really bad, and it doesn't matter whether it's in real estate or whatever business you're in, if you're not getting the results that you're seeing, it's probably because your dreams aren't big enough. And when nobody's looking, you're not the guy that everybody thinks you are when nobody's looking. And that's the problem, right? Like, you can't just be the guy when everybody's like, oh yeah, there's Ron, what a good guy. And then in the background, I'm not. Well, then you look in the mirror and you're like, you feel like a fake, right? And I learned that lesson real quick, right out of the gate. Is like, you got to be like the guy your dog thinks you are. Um, and you really got to, and if you don't believe in something, you got to believe in at least the universe, and that these blessings are in store for you if you work hard. But it's not just working hard. Working smarter is actually more important than working harder, because then you don't lose your wife, and you don't lose, and then your kids are 14 and they're like, who are you? You're oh you're my dad. Like, nobody wants that. And or have a heart attack and or an aneurysm, or like jeopardize your health for what? For money. And then, so sure, you got all those awards and the money, but you're dead. I mean, so there is a balance, and it's achievable. It's really not that hard.
Yeah, man, I love it. Such a good thing you said there. Love it. I love that it's here permanently. People need to hear that this industry is desperate for this. And you know what's funny? I'm finding, Ron, is that the people that are making the most noise, leaders and stuff. And I'm not trying to be negative against anybody. It's just that the conversation that I think is coming from the top down is connecting to the 10% at the top. And what you just said is going to connect to the 90% of the other people in the industry. Because a lot of times you speak to the top, and a lot of the advice is given to the top. And what I'm finding is that there's a disconnect between the brokerage and the people, what they actually need. And there's a lot of catering to the top guys. And what you just said was going to impact everyone, not just top guys, everyone, top to bottom. I think that's really important. That's the goal here, is to get people.
It's interesting, Ben. Like, you look at the some of the guys that have been like, there's people in our market area that have been selling for 40 years, and they're still successful because
Yeah,
they were brought up with those old school practices that is proof that never went anywhere. And so, like you say, like it's a lack of, I suppose, quality mentorship that just through evolution, it was like, yeah, you got your license and
Go get
go.
her. Yeah.
But then, but which one? Like, it's like
Yes.
they're everywhere.
Ron, when someone like when I meet someone and they're looking for any kind of help in real estate, sometimes they're 15 years in the game, and I'll just ask a few questions. 15 years in the game, and they haven't learned half of what they should have learned. And it's
Yeah.
just like it blows my mind. And it's like I know you own the brokerage, and I know your brokerage model is so much different than the guys that are trying to get hundreds of agents. That's not your game. But if you're trying to get hundreds of agents, like the thing is though, like after like it's so crazy. Like I'm like one guy is 25 years in the business in Remax, right? And again, not against Remax, but the thing is, I asked him, what are you doing for aftercare for your business, for your clients? He looks at me, he's like, what do you mean? Like, like, what are you doing to keep your clients for 20 years? And he looks at me and he's fully trained, like wildly trained on every level. Back in the old school, Ron, where you had to be interviewed to even get onto the Remax brand when it
That was
was
me.
really, yeah, there you go. And so that's when they really invested into the agents back then. And I said, what are you doing? And he was literally 60 some years old and he's crushing lead gen calls right now, like a few years back before I met him. And I'm going, I said, if you have 1,000 transactions, just 1,000, okay? And I said, and I know that you've had more than that, but let's just say 1,000 people, but you dedicated your business just to keeping them versus finding new ones. I said, if you had a 10% referral rate, you'd have 100 sales a year. And his mind was blown. It's literally the massive hole. How do you keep a client? So when I meet people, there's just like, these are basics. I'm a business coach. Like I'm a business builder. I'm an entrepreneur. Real estate is just the something I've done. And so I look at it through a business lens. I'm like, well, wouldn't you have a client retention plan? Wouldn't you have something to retain a client to get referred? Like it's so sales driven for 30 years. And it's like every single deal that someone's done is most likely taken from another agent. The entire state of the whole industry is like you have 3 or 4 agents every in your lifetime. That's just how it is. But
Yeah.
do you know what old school is, Ron? Where the butcher at 9 o'clock at night, because he had to stay late, he has all his offcuts, right? All the ends of all the stuff that's worthless. He looks at the garbage and he says, no, Sally has a few dogs. Just gonna jump in my car, not because it's a effing strategy. This is really important. Drives over to Sally's house, goes, hey, I got some extra. I didn't want to throw them out. I know your dogs would love this. Then he goes home. That is missing. That, that like not from strategy. It's because it's freaking nice.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? It's like every company, every real estate brand has their fair share of extraordinary ambassadors. And the challenge is that they think they're just one person. That's why I love the work that you're doing, Ben. It's like I challenge everybody from every company to just step up and just find one person in your company that you think needs, like, just to hear something positive from you as a senior agent. I don't mean old, but I mean been in the business long enough to give good advice. And that's what we're missing, that we don't have anymore, is because, and it's not that these people don't want to give back, and most, or the agents that have been around, and they usually they will, but I'm just saying, like, it's like every company, every brokerage has a great ambassador, and if you're new in the business, just seek that person out, because they'll love to have lunch with you, they'll love to have a coffee with you, they'll love, ask them, hey, can I have 20 minutes of your time? When would be a good time on your schedule? There's so much good information out there. But the work that you're doing, Ben, is great because it's real. It's not anybody else's material. You didn't steal any of this or borrow it, or this is, you package this up. This is your stuff. And when you asked me to do this, I was like, yeah, I'd love to. I get asked all the time. This is the first time I've ever done this. If you can,
That's awesome. Thanks, Ron.
it's
Means a lot.
it's fun. But
Yeah.
you and I, we know each other a long time. I mean, I
Me.
lost to listening to you. I was so mad. I wanted to
Oh,
find
I
you.
got you.
I wanted to find your house. Drag you out of
That's
your house.
awesome. Well, that's funny. That's funny.
Oh
I
man,
made when I came
and
in
you
the
go,
business,
I'm
right, I
not
made a
hurt.
lot of
10 years ago. I'm not
No,
hurt.
it's fun. It's yeah. You're still sore. You want to talk
Yeah.
about it now? We can talk about it. But I
Yeah,
still
you know
kicked
what?
your
I was
ass,
hoping
so deal
I
with
was
it.
hoping you'd bring it up. Thanks for bringing it up. Oh, I
You
brought it
know,
up. Oh,
Ron,
okay.
I
No, I'm
I
just
actually
kidding.
caused a lot of trouble. I didn't mean to. Like I just came in and did my thing, head down, and I was
Yeah,
just the
no.
new kid on the block, and I didn't know any better, and probably too cocky and rub people the wrong way sometimes. But yeah, no,
No, man. Just
yeah,
kidding.
but no,
Just busting you
it's
up.
good. I got Ron once at least, so that's good. No one gets Ron like I got him, so that's good. I got one. I got one on him. I got one
Yeah,
house on him.
whenever I have
The
to tell
problem
about
is I don't know how
myself,
many I've
the time
lost to
I've
you
lost it
back
was
in the
you.
day. Well, yeah, at least it was me. Yeah, that's a nice way
Yeah,
to say it.
the
So,
one
so
time.
Ron, why don't we wrap up a bit here? I think this is an amazing show. People have short time frames in their minds,
That's
but
right.
is there anything that you could give? Let's talk about a practical hack. Okay, I know we're talking, and I don't, and if there isn't one, I think relationship is really the message. That real old school connection is what you've been saying. And I love there's so many pieces of gold that you've said, but if there was something you could give someone, let's just say this busy agent, okay, makes about 120 grand a year. He's gotten really busy. Sales worked. Sales is not his number one problem anymore, Ron. And he's running and he's working and it's going. What advice could you give that guy?
Oh, so his pain point is that he doesn't have enough time.
It's growing. It's working. It's a weird problem. I run into it all the time. It's like the
Yeah,
guy that it's working, and then he sees the future, and he's like, he's not burnt out yet, but he's like, holy shit, how am
yeah,
I? What now? What now? These are the guys that are like desperately needing. They're falling through the cracks
yeah.
massively.
So pay yourself first. Pay yourself first with your time. So focus on at least one daily simple pleasure, whether for me it's a steam or playing some golf or whatever it is. You take an hour. You got to pay yourself first, because if you get burned out, because we all do, you're looking back and you're like, whose life is this anyways? And then what happens is you get to the point where your phone just rings. Don't ever, don't ever let yourself get complacent, because the second you do, your phone will just go dark. It'll go like ice cold. And so the phone's ringing because you did all these things to get busy. But then now the phone's ringing. So now you left what got you busy to go over here to take care and service that business. And the stuff that you do to make the phone ring that pays you in 90 days from now. Well, those things that you can't do, you got to get somebody to help you with that. Right. So you need to make sure you don't burn out, and don't be fooled by the ringing phone, and don't forget what it took to get you busy, because whatever you do today pays you in 90 days from now.
And then get someone else to do some of that stuff you're saying.
Get some help.
Get
Yeah.
some help. That's awesome. Thanks, Ron. That's beautiful. It's funny when I'll be speaking at an event or whatever, and I'll ask this. It's really fun. I'll be like, okay, how many of you guys love asking for help? I literally have no one raise their hand. Like nobody. Like maybe one guy that wants to be like the front of the class kind of guy. Like, oh, I love getting help, but like no one asks for help. I'm like, you guys are effed. Do you have no
Yeah.
understand how screwed you guys are? If you have a characteristic that you can't ask for help, like, but you have a vision of being $1 million agent, but you have an insecurity that you can't ask for help, you're done. Like you
Yeah.
can't. The greatest business people, big, they're talking billionaires. That's they don't ask for help. Like you think Elon Musk knows how to fly a freaking rocket? Like it's just such limited thinking. So when you say get help, it's like I just remember asking and nobody raises their hand. Who's great at asking for help? Nobody is.
Yeah.
That's why they're limited mindset. That's the hustler. That's the employee mentality. A business owner has everyone doing everything for them.
Yeah.
And then they only do what they're like masterful, you
Yeah.
know?
What you love. Because if you don't love it, it's
Great point. Just because you're good at it doesn't mean you love it.
yeah. If you got into real estate for the money, you're in trouble. Money is supposed to be the byproduct, the reward for the job well done. It can't be the first thing.
Yeah. Ron, we're gonna wrap it there, man. Truly appreciate you being on the show. There's one thing I like to do at the end of all my podcasts because I'm a little bit selfish too. Is I always and I think I like to turn it around. I've been asking you questions. I always like to say, If you want to come up with one question, I don't care what it is, I'll be wide open. You can challenge me, you can do whatever you want to say. If you had to ask me one question, you want to ask a question? Now's the time.
Oh, you know what? And if you would have prepped me for this would have been a good question. But if I could ask Ben one question, it would be, what's it going to take to get, you know, to get people to just to get it? What's it going to take to get phones and tablets and screen time out of people's hands so they can focus on life instead of living it through somebody else's eye? In your opinion, what's it going to take?
Okay, so first of all, you want me to shoot straight, Ron?
Yeah.
I think you got to lighten up on how much you judge screen time is the first step.
Really?
And yeah, let people off the hook.
Yeah.
Because I think we're in a new day and age of screens. I think there's a way to figure out how to live and be fulfilled and happy knowing there's screens everywhere. Because we're talking about, if we go back in the day, radios was the new screens, TVs were the new screens. Like all this is not new. This is 100 years old of pattern of the newest technology coming out. I remember my mom, I'm not going on Facebook. This is gonna and I think there's a real valid point that it can be completely overdone, but the screen time is not the issue. It's the lack of the human being having purpose and the lack of human being having a mission to go after to do that. So how do you get people to get it? So Ron, I'm on that mission every single day of my life. And the only things I can say is this. I'm going to start with me. I'm going to start with me. And I have a t-shirt that I literally have for my mastermind group I've given away. It says, let your life tell the story. And then when someone wants to listen, you give it to them. But the stress that you carry about having to stop them and change them is going to be stress you carry that you don't need to.
Yeah, it's a great point. It doesn't stress me, but I see people that are so stressed in their own lives, and it's like, you know,
I think we
I
put too
think
many
they're I think they're
limitations.
playing the compare game, and that's the problem with screen time is people are
That's right.
comparing themselves their life to others, but what you see is not reality. Go make your
But
own
then,
reality.
so then my answer on a practical quick note is this: screen time's not the problem. Dig a little deeper to find out what the real problem is. If
Yeah,
we're
sure.
solving screen time, then we just steal their phones. But did it change anything? So they're not going to. You ask me how do they get it? Well, then they have to go a little deeper and understand why they're on the screen time. We solve the why. What is that giving them that they should be getting somewhere else? Like, for example, it's the same thing as drinking booze too much. There's a lot of people that drink booze for confidence. They drink booze to be more social, to connect with their family, to wind down, and they use this as a vice, but they're trying to get something inside themselves fulfilled and are using liquor. It's the same symptom. It's all the same. So why are you not fucking happy? Let's go there. That's not you. Like, the person on the screen time. But if they're really honestly happy, I don't think the screens are going to be a problem.
Yeah, maybe not. You're right. It's just one of those things. It's like you see so many people just comparing, and that's where the pain comes from, is comparing yourself to something that's not even reality. But you know what?
In the 90s, it was magazines,
True,
right?
true.
How do we get
But you
them
didn't
off
see all
looking
your
at those
friends and
skinny?
neighbors in the magazine, though, right?
It's true. But then we just have to have a self-awareness, knowing that, like, I'm on the stage and I'll be like, you haven't seen me yell at my kids, so don't put me on a pedestal. I'm always putting myself in a position of, you've never seen me go into a depression for 3 days. You think I'm going to post that shit on Facebook? Like, but it happens. Some days I
Sure.
don't like who I am. It happens. It's obvious. So we have to understand what it is. Like, when you're looking at my life and you think I'm something special, guess what, man? I'm just a dude. Got the same problems most people that have, right? I think
Well,
I
that's
think
why
we have
you're
to
real.
understand.
That's why you're real, and that's a good thing. That's what people need, right?
I think that's where me and you connect. And that's a good example for people that are listening, is why we have a great relationship, Ron, is because of that. It's
Yeah.
it's the missing factor. And actually, so the emotional connection that me and you can have, where we can pick up the phone if we see each other. You got my phone anytime we're together. Like, yeah, anything. It's like, yeah, wide open. Let's go, Ron. Like, it's always, we got a relationship. I'm excited to talk. You're excited to talk to me. That's because I think we know we've let each other in.
Yeah.
It's
Oh
not
yeah.
like, you know what I mean? It's not like we
Yeah.
have synergy. It's a relationship is knowing that I've got bullshit, you got some bullshit, and we're still on life together. Like it's a little bit more vulnerable, right?
And that's the thing. Like successful people love to talk about their mistakes, not their successes. You know what I mean? And
So
if if anybody wants to, like, you go for advice and somebody wants you want some advice and all people want to talk to you about is all their success, I think you'd be more interested in their mistakes and how they
totally.
overcame, because that's the real, that's that's the information that people, that's why books still sell today. This was the mistake, here's the problem, here's the solution, here's the mistake, here's how I
Sure.
overcame, because that's what people want to know.
Well, I got my publisher telling me this, and I've got a book coming out, and by now, who knows? It's called The Richest Real Estate Agent. And the thing is, it's funny. They're like, don't hold back. Like the story that you're like, shit, do not share that is the exact story they want, and
Okay.
they want because that sells books because they can relate to it. But if I just talk about my advice and my successes, there no one buys the book.
Okay, so perfect. So I retract my last question. You said I could ask you any question I want. So I have a question now.
Okay.
Is the richest real estate agent the one that has the most amount of money in his bank or
Yeah,
her
and
bank?
the Ferraris. Yep. No,
His or her
of
bank?
course not. No, it's the guy that can leave his business for a month and hang out, have a newborn baby, and focus on it, and jump back in the business, and the business ran.
There you
That's
go.
the richest real estate agent. The guy
I
that
love
can
it.
go fishing on Friday afternoon, come back on Tuesday, and the business ran. Like
Yeah.
that's the richest real estate agent, not the guy that just is on his phone while he's at his daughter's wedding.
So the
That's not
richest real
rich.
estate agent coaches his daughter's basketball team or his son's hockey team and works out every day and
You got it,
you
man.
know
Yeah,
treats
man.
people like
And
gold.
yeah, does what he wants to do. That aligns to who he is, who she is,
He
and it
is, yeah.
doesn't cost them when they get to live. It doesn't
Perfect.
cost them when they get to live.
That's going to be
So,
a great book. Do I get a signed copy?
so I'll tell you something. I'm gonna print a small run of really. It's called the collector's edition books. It's not a thing I don't think out there, but I'm doing it,
That's
and
a great
so
idea.
I'll give you one of my collector's edition. I'll write something in there, but it's literally a different run. You cannot get these books anywhere. It's only given by me personally, and I'm going to give them out to my crew and some close people. So I'll give you one of those. You're going to get one
But
of
it
the
has to
collectors.
say like "Dear Ron," and I want like a story and like
Yeah.
make it
Now,
feel like from the heart.
do you want to just you want to just fucking write it for me?
Yeah,
Like,
I will. I'll send it to you, and then
just send
in
me
your
a text. It sounds like
yeah,
you got it
and
figured
in
out.
your writing. Yeah, that'd be perfect. Okay.
Awesome, man. Kate, we'll stop the recording here, Ron. It's been
Thanks,
awesome,
buds.
and then we'll thanks so much for being on the show.
Thank you so much.
Hey guys, thanks for listening to the whole episode. I just want to remind you, realestaterebootcamp.com. This is a place where we're really transforming hustlers into business owners, a place where we're actually designing your life and finding the business model and the style of business that actually is going to serve the life that you want, helping you get really clear on what makes you happy versus just chasing the next deal. That is tiring. It's going to cost relationships. Check it out, realestaterebootcamp.com. Let's chat.